Today we are equipping our heroic armed forces with a total of 47 systems worth $460 million in our steel dome. This will inspire confidence among our allies and instill fear in our adversaries. Recent conflicts in our region have underscored the critical importance of air defense and radar systems. We are fully aware that we cannot afford to leave our security to chance. No country that fails to develop its own radar, air defenses and electronic warfare capabilities can face today's security challenges or look to the future with confidence. The fine line between being at the table and being on the menu is defined by a nation's ability to defend and strike from the air. Despite all obstacles, we have made significant progress in a very short time. Today's deliveries are the most concrete proof that our efforts have not been in vain. With the addition of the steel dome system, we are now entering a new era in air defense.
For more on this story, Hüseyin Alptekin is an international security expert and he joins us live now from Istanbul. Hüseyin, welcome. So this steel dome is clearly a very sophisticated piece of equipment. So the first question that comes to mind is, why now?
Actually, now we hear sort of the end product and one of the recent steps of this ongoing project. But in fact, if we look back to the history of this air defense project, it is going back a few years. Turkey, in fact, started to use its low-altitude Korkut air defense system in 2019. And the high-altitude Siper system entered the Turkish inventory in 2024. What is happening now is not just developing a new weapon system or a new radar system, but pretty much, on the one hand, integrating the existing systems into an integrated and consistent system, a multi-layered system. And on the other hand, the second step here is developing new systems and to integrate them to the existing systems to create a synergy, a cooperative mechanism between these individual units. So right now we are seeing an integration process. But if we ask why now we are talking about this integration, I think the quick answer is two recent battles, two recent conflicts. One in May between India and Pakistan, we saw air battle between these two countries. And secondly, in June, we saw 12-day war between Iran and Israel. And all these recent skirmishes and wars, they included attacks from the air. And that's why I think Turkey kind of wanted to have this integrated multi-layered system in a quicker sense. I think the region became more intense, it became more risky.
And Hüseyin, Turkey has made a significant effort to invest in its own defence industry and produce its own equipment. Why has it been a priority for Turkey to not be reliant on imports?
This was pretty much the standard defense procedures of Turkey. For a few decades, Turkey used the imported defense products and different weapon systems, mostly from the United States, but also from a number of other NATO members. But the problem was, on the one hand, Turkey couldn't get some important defense systems in a timely manner. And another problem with that was conditionality. So in many times, Turkey couldn't use its weapons that acquired from the Western allies. The first prominent example of this was as old as 1964. The famous Johnson letter coming from the United States warned Turkey that Turkey was not able to use its systems, which was acquired from its Western allies, with regard to the Cyprus conflict. So they were limiting the usage of these systems, and they were limiting the side products, which would provide more capacity to use the existing systems. So it's not just about this engineering problem, it's not just about these technicalities, but it was also about this diplomatic independence. So it's not about how much weapon systems or how many different types of weapon systems you have, but it's also about where and when you can use them. And with Turkey, with this locally produced and developed systems, now it has this independence, this autonomy in the timing and geographical scope for the usage of these new systems.
And Hussein, today President Erdogan mentioned upheaval in the region, which you've mentioned, and I think he said, quote, "We can't leave things to chance." What are those specific concerns that Türkiye has that means that it needs to keep growing its defence industry?
Right now, the most trendy compartment in defense systems, because of the conflict between Iran and Israel, it is air defenses. So that's why I think we are seeing this focus on air defenses. But it's not just about denial mechanism of these possible attacks from the air, but also Turkey needs and is investing on its deterrence mechanisms, not only in terms of denial, but in terms of retaliation. So Turkey is also developing this homegrown, locally built attack systems as well, because denial and such passive systems sometimes are unable to stop potential aggressors. And what you need to have on the table is also retaliatory mechanisms in terms of missiles, in terms of other jet fleets. And for that matter, Turkey is also developing, as you know, some new systems, some manned and unmanned jets, for example, from the manned Kaan system to the unmanned Kızıl Elma system. They are both jet fighters. One is manned, the other one is unmanned. They both had their test flights, and they are waiting for a serial production process.
Hüseyin Alptekin, international security expert, thank you so much for your time here with us on TRT World.
My pleasure.